Minna walked slowly through the large storage room of the Galactic Conservation Center. Her steps were quiet, just like her voice. The blue skin of her face turned a deeper shade as she pushed her cart past other workers. She did not like when people looked at her. "Just finish the inventory count," she told herself. "Then you can go back to the quiet of the medical bay." Mina was a nurse, not a storage worker. But the center was short on staff this cycle, and everyone had to help. Her four-fingered hands gripped the digital counter tightly as she checked off boxes of specimens. The storage room held thousands of items from planets all across the galaxy. Most important were the artifacts from Earth, the lost human world. Humans had disappeared 300 years ago. All that remained were the things they left behind. Mina turned down a narrow aisle marked Earth biological samples, low priority. Her job was to count how many samples were still good and how many had failed. Most had failed. Nobody cared much about Earth things anymore. A small light caught her eye. At the end of a shelf, behind some dusty containers, a tiny blue light blinked. Mina moved closer. She had never seen this before. "Strange," she whispered. Her thin fingers pushed aside the containers. Behind them sat a small metal pod with the blinking light. It was not on her inventory list. Mina picked up the pod carefully. It was cold to touch. A small screen on its side still worked, showing words in the old human language. Mina had studied some human words during her medical training. She could read a little. "Nightingale," she read slowly. "Specimen P7. Viable." Viable meant alive, or at least able to live. Mina's heart beat faster. She looked around, but no one was watching. She should tell her supervisor about this find. That was the rule. But something made her hesitate. Mina pressed another button on the pod. The screen changed to show a picture. It was a small brown bird. Under the picture were more words. Licinia megarhenkos, Earth avian species, song capabilities, extinct since 2157. A bird. A singing bird from Earth. And according to the pod, it could still be brought to life. Mina had read about Earth birds in her studies. Humans had loved birds, especially ones that sang. But all Earth birds had died out when the planet's climate changed too quickly, or so everyone believed. "What are you doing down there, Nurse Mina?" a sharp voice called. Mina jumped. The pod almost fell from her hands. She looked up to see Director Jin walking toward her, his tall green form blocking the light from the ceiling. I found something," Mina said, her voice barely above a whisper. "A pod with an Earth specimen. A bird." Director Jin took the pod from her hands. He looked at it with bored eyes. "Just another dead Earth thing," he said. "Put it back on the inventory list. We'll decide what to do with all this old stuff next cycle." "But sir," Mina said, trying to make her voice stronger, "the pod says the specimen is viable. It could be revived." Director Jin laughed. "Nurse Mina, we barely have enough credits to keep this center running. We don't waste resources trying to bring back extinct species, especially not from Earth. Those days are over." He handed the pod back to Mina. "Finish your count and return to the medical bay. We have living patients who need attention." Director Jin walked away, already focused on his next task. Mina looked down at the small pod in her hands. The blue light continued to blink steadily. Instead of putting the pod back on the shelf, Mina slipped it into her pocket. She didn't know why. She had never broken a rule before. But something about this last singing bird from Earth called to her. As she pushed her cart toward the exit, she felt the cold pod against her side. For the first time in a long while, Mina felt something new stirring inside her chest. Curiosity. Mina sat in the back of the big meeting room. All staff had to come. She made herself small in her chair as Director Jin stood at the front. "Bad news," Director Jin said to the crowd. "The center's funding has been cut again. We must save money. Starting next week, we will clear out non-essential specimens." Mina's heart jumped. The Nightingale pod had been hidden in her room for 3 days now. She had spent every free moment reading about Earth birds on the data network. All Earth biological samples in storage section E7 will be processed for disposal. Director Jin continued. Those materials take up space and energy, but have no research value. A tall alien raised his hand. What about historical value? Earth was an important planet. Director Jin waved his hand. The museums have enough Earth items. We need space for specimens that can actually help people today. He looked at his screen. Meeting over. Return to work. Mina walked quickly back to the medical bay. Her mind was racing. Section E7. That was where she had found the nightingale pod. If she hadn't taken it, the bird would be marked for disposal. After her shift ended, Mina hurried home to her apartment. She lived in a small building 20 minutes from the center. When she entered, her roommate Dai was sitting by the window, tending to his plants. Dai looked up and smiled. His orange skin wrinkled around his eyes. You look worried, Mina. Mina and Dai had been roommates for 2 years. He was a xenobotanist. He studied plants from different worlds. Their apartment was full of strange, colorful plants. Dai was kind and never made Mina talk when she didn't want to. Mina took a deep breath. She needed help, and Dai was the only person she trusted. I need to show you something, she said. She went to her room and came back with the small pod. Dai's eyes widened. What is that? A nightingale. A bird from Earth. It's still viable. Mina's voice grew stronger as she explained. The center is going to destroy all specimens from its section. But this bird, it was important to humans. It sang beautiful songs. Dai studied the pod. This is very old technology. But yes, the stasis field is still working. He looked up at Mina. What do you want to do with it? Mina hadn't said the idea out loud yet, even to herself. I want to revive it. Revive an extinct species. Here. Da gestured around their small apartment. That's against at least 3 galactic laws. I know. Mina's blue hands trembled. But it feels wrong to let it be destroyed. I've read that these birds nearly went extinct once before, and humans worked hard to save them. And then humans themselves disappeared. This might be the last one. Dai was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. You've never broken a rule in your life, Mina. This must be important to you. He stood up. I have equipment we can use. My plant revival chamber can be modified. Mina felt a wave of relief. You'll help me? Of course, but we'll need more than equipment. Dai moved to his computer. We need to learn everything about Earth birds. Their environment, their food, their needs. For the next hour, they researched together. Mina learned that nightingales needed insects to eat, trees to nest in, and specific temperatures to thrive. This won't be easy, Dai said. We'll need to create a perfect Earth environment. Can we do it? Mina asked. Dai looked at the tiny pod. I don't know, but I think we should try. That night, Mina couldn't sleep. What she was planning was dangerous. She could lose her job. She could even be arrested. But when she thought about the little bird, waiting in darkness for 300 years, she knew she had made her decision. The nightingale would sing again. 3 weeks passed. Mina and Dai worked every night on their secret project. They turned Dai's plant room into a bird laboratory. Dai built a special case that matched Earth's air and light. Mina used her medical knowledge to study the tiny embryo inside the pod. It's our 5th try today, Mina said. Her voice was tired. She carefully placed the bird embryo into the warm chamber they had built. The embryo was smaller than her fingertip. It looked so fragile. Dai adjusted the settings. This time, I added more oxygen. Earth had more oxygen than our standard mix. They had failed many times already. Each failure made Mina sad, but she didn't give up. She had read all she could find about Earth birds. She learned that nightingales were known for singing at night. They were small, but their songs were powerful. Humans wrote poems about them. Now we wait, Dai said. He put his hand on Mina's shoulder. You should sleep. You have work tomorrow. I'll stay a little longer, Minna said. She couldn't leave the tiny embryo alone. Day went to bed, but Minna sat by the chamber. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the machines. Minna watched the small blob of cells that might become a bird. Without thinking, she began to hum. It was an old song from her home world, a simple melody her mother used to sing. As she hummed, she noticed something strange. The embryo seemed to pulse in rhythm with her song. Minna leaned closer. Yes, the cells were dividing faster when she made sounds. It responds to sound, she whispered. She continued humming, watching in wonder as the embryo grew slightly larger. Minna stayed all night, singing softly to the embryo. By morning, it had grown more than in all their previous attempts combined. When Dad woke up, Minna showed him what had happened. Amazing, Dad said. The nightingale is a sound-sensitive species. It makes sense that sound would help it develop. Over the next few days, they took turns singing to the embryo. It grew quickly now. Soon they could see a tiny beak forming, then small wing buds. Minna used her medical scanner to check its health. Its heart is beating, she told Dad one evening, and its brain is active. 10 days later, they heard a tap from inside the shell that had formed around the embryo. Minna and Dai watched as a tiny crack appeared. It's hatching, Dai whispered. They sat very still as the small bird struggled to break free. It took nearly an hour. Finally, a wet, tiny creature emerged. It was pink and wrinkled with closed eyes. It's alive, Minna said. Her voice shook with emotion. A real earth nightingale. The tiny bird opened its beak and made a small peeping sound. It was not much of a song yet, but to Minna, it was the most beautiful sound she had ever heard. Over the next few days, the nightingale grew stronger. Feathers began to cover its small body. Its eyes opened. They were dark and bright. Minna made special food from the protein maker based on earth insects. The bird followed Minna everywhere. When she entered the room, it fluttered its small wings with excitement. It slept near her pillow at night. It thinks you're its mother, Dai said, laughing. One morning, as Minna got ready for work, the bird perched on her shoulder and made a new sound. It wasn't just peeping anymore. It was the beginning of a real song, a series of clear, sweet notes. Minna smiled. I'm going to call you Sol, she told the bird, after Earth's sun. Sol tilted his small head and sang again, just for her. Minna had broken rules. She had risked her job. But as Sol's song filled their small apartment, she knew she had done the right thing. A piece of Earth lived again. 2 weeks had passed since Sol hatched. The small brown bird was now fully feathered and very active. He flew around the apartment, exploring everything with his curious eyes. At night, his songs became longer and more complex. Minna was in the kitchen making dinner. She had just finished a long shift at the medical center. She was cutting vegetables when the knife slipped. The sharp blade cut deeply into her blue finger. Ouch! Minna cried out in pain. Blue blood dripped onto the counter. The cut was deep. As a nurse, Minna knew it needed medical attention. Sol, who had been sitting near the window, flew to her immediately. He landed on the counter beside her bleeding hand. Minna was about to shoo him away when he began to sing. This song was different from his usual chirps. It was soft and steady, almost like a hum. As Sol sang, he hopped closer to Minna's cut finger. Not now, Sol, Minna said. She needed to clean the wound. But something strange was happening. The pain was fading. Minna looked down at her finger in surprise. The cut was closing. As Sol continued to sing, the edges of the wound pulled together. Within 1 minute, what had been a deep cut was now just a thin line. A minute later, even that was gone. Impossible, Minna whispered. She touched her finger where the cut had been. The skin was smooth and perfect, as if she had never been hurt. Sol stopped singing and looked up at her with his bright eyes. When Dai came home, Minna showed him her finger and told him what happened. Maybe you just thought the cut was worse than it was, Day said, not believing her. I know what I saw, Minna insisted. She picked up the knife again. What are you doing? Day asked with alarm. Proving what Sol can do. Before Day could stop her, Minna made a small cut on her arm. It wasn't deep, but it bled immediately. Minna, Day shouted. Watch, Minna said calmly. She called to Sol, who flew to her. The bird looked at the cut and began to sing his special song again. Day's mouth fell open as he watched the cut heal before his eyes. That's not possible, he said. But it's happening, Minna replied. Sol's song can heal. They spent the evening doing careful tests. Small cuts healed quickly when Sol sang. A burn on Day's finger disappeared after 2 minutes of the bird's song. This is incredible, Day said. Do you know what this means? Minna nodded slowly. As a nurse, she understood the importance of this discovery. His song could help so many patients. We need to tell someone, Day said. A discovery this big. Minna thought carefully. Not just anyone. We need someone we can trust. She thought of her co-workers at the medical center. Most would tell Director Jin immediately. But there was one person who might help them understand Sol's abilities first. Dr. Hyun, Minna said. He's kind and smart. He studies new medical treatments. The next day, Minna asked Dr. Hyun to come to her apartment after work. He was an older alien with gray skin and gentle eyes. He had always been nice to Minna, even when others ignored her. When he saw Sol and heard about the bird's abilities, Dr. Hyun was amazed. May I? He asked, taking out a small scanner from his medical bag. Minna nodded. Dr. Hyun scanned Sol as the bird sang his healing song. Fascinating, Dr. Hyun said. The sound waves stimulate cell growth and repair. I've never seen anything like it. What should we do? Minna asked. Dr. Hyun looked serious. This bird could help many people, but we must be careful. Some might want to use him in harmful ways. He closed his scanner. Let's keep this between us for now. We need to understand his abilities better before telling others. Minna agreed. As Sol flew to her shoulder, she felt both excited and afraid. The last nightingale from Earth had an amazing gift, but keeping such a big secret would not be easy. For 2 weeks, Minna, Da, and Dr. Hyun studied Sol's healing abilities in secret. They learned that Sol's song worked on many different kinds of injuries. Cuts, burns, and even broken bones would heal faster when Sol sang. Dr. Hyun took careful notes. The song creates special sound waves. He explained to Minna. These waves make cells grow and repair quickly. Minna had never felt so excited about anything. She was helping discover something that could change medicine forever. She was still shy at work, but at home with Sol, she felt brave and important. Then came the day everything went wrong. The medical center sent an emergency alert to all staff. A ship had crashed near the city. Many aliens were hurt. All medical staff report immediately, the message said. Minna rushed to get ready. She couldn't leave Sol alone all day. Their tests showed he needed regular feeding because of his fast metabolism. She had no choice but to bring him. Stay quiet in my bag, she whispered to Sol as she placed him in her medical satchel with air holes. She added some food and his favorite soft cloth. Just for today. The medical center was chaos when she arrived. Injured people filled every room. Doctors and nurses ran between beds. Minna was assigned to help a group of children who had minor injuries. A small child with purple skin was crying loudly. She had a deep cut on her leg that wouldn't stop bleeding. It hurts, the child cried. Minna tried to clean the wound, but the child moved too much. From inside Minna's bag, Sol began to make noise, responding to the child's cries. What's that sound? The child asked, suddenly curious. Minna hesitated. Then she made a quick decision. A special helper, she said softly. She opened her bag just enough for Sol to poke out his head. The child's eyes grew wide. A bird. A special bird, Minna whispered. He can help if you stay still and listen. The child nodded, now distracted from the pain. Sol hopped onto Minna's hand and began to sing his healing song. The child watched in wonder as her cut began to close. "It's magic," she said. "It's a secret," Minna replied with a smile. "Our secret? Okay." But it was too late for secrets. Director Jin had seen everything from the doorway. He stepped into the room, his eyes fixed on Sol. "Nurse Minna," he said coldly. "What is that creature?" Mina's heart pounded. "Sir, I can explain." "That's a nightingale," Director Jin said. "An Earth species. The same species that was missing from our inventory." His eyes narrowed. "You stole center property." "Please, sir," Minna began. "Sol can heal." "I saw what it did," Director Jin cut her off. "And that makes this situation even more serious." He pressed a button on his wrist device. 2 security guards appeared at the door. "Take the bird to Research Lab 1, Director Jin ordered. "Maximum security protocols." 1 guard reached for Sol. The bird chirped in fear and flew to Minna's shoulder. "No," Minna cried. "You don't understand. He needs special care." "What I understand," Director Jin said, "is that you stole a valuable specimen and kept its abilities secret." He looked at Minna with cold eyes. "You are suspended from duty. Report to my office tomorrow for disciplinary action." The guard caught Sol in a clear box. The bird fluttered frantically inside, his song now sharp with fear. "He needs me," Minna pleaded. "Please." "What he needs is proper scientific study," Director Jin replied. "This discovery is too important for a nurse to handle." As they took Sol away, Minna felt her world collapse. She had failed to protect him. Now Sol would be locked in a laboratory, treated like a thing instead of a living being. She had to get him back. But how? Minna sat in her apartment, tears falling down her blue face. Day tried to comfort her, but nothing helped. Sol was gone. "We have to get him back," Minna said, wiping her tears. "They'll hurt him with their tests." "The research lab has tight security," Dad said. "We can't just walk in." There was a knock at the door. Minna and Da looked at each other in fear. Had Director Jin sent someone to arrest Minna? Day opened the door slowly. Dr. Hyun stood there with a tall, muscular alien beside him. "May we come in?" Dr. Hyun asked. Minna nodded, though she eyed the stranger with caution. He had gray skin with red markings and a serious face. "This is Ta," Dr. Hyun said. "He works in security at the center." Minna stepped back. "You're here to arrest me." Ta shook his head. "No, I'm here to help you get your bird back." Minna was surprised. "Why would you help me?" Ta's hard face softened a little. "I saw what your bird did for that child today. My family." He paused, his voice becoming rough. "My family died from an illness that no medicine could cure. If there's a chance this bird's song could help others like them, I want to protect it." "Director Jin doesn't want to help people," Dr. Hyun added. "I checked his computer. He's already sent reports about Seoul to a military research group." "Military?" Dai asked. "Why would they be interested?" "Think about it," Ta said. "A power that can heal tissue instantly could also be weaponized. Make soldiers who heal from wounds in battle. Create biological agents that grow super fast." Minna felt sick. Her special bird, used to make weapons. "We have to stop this." "That's why we're here," Dr. Hyun said. "But we need a plan." They gathered around the table. Todd brought up a map of the center on his datapad. "Sol is here, in Research Lab 1, he pointed. "It has 3 security checkpoints. Guards work in shifts. The lab itself has special locks that only 5 people can open." "Is Director Jin one of them?" Minna asked. Ta nodded. "What about cameras?" Dai asked. "Everywhere," Tae replied. "But I can freeze the feed for 2 minutes in any section, not longer, or it will trigger alarms." Dr. Hyun pulled out a small device. I made this from my scans of Saul. It creates sound waves similar to his song. Not strong enough to heal, but it might calm him if he's frightened. Minna looked at these three very different aliens who had come together to help her. For the first time since Saul was taken, she felt hope. When do we do this? She asked. Tonight, Ta said. Director Jin has a meeting off-site. The night shift has fewer guards. We go in through the service entrance. Dr. Hyun added. Ta will get us past the first checkpoint. Then Dae creates a distraction in the east wing. I'll use my plant spores, Dae said. They'll set off the air quality sensors, while security checks the east wing. Ta continued. Dr. Hyun, and I will get to the second checkpoint. I'll freeze the cameras for the hallway to Lab 1. And I go in to get Saul. Minna finished. You'll have exactly 2 minutes, Ta warned. Then the cameras come back on. What if something goes wrong? Minna asked. They all looked at each other. They knew the risk. They could lose their jobs. They could go to prison. We'll have emergency signals, Ta said. If anyone sends the signal, we all abort and meet back here. As evening fell, they prepared. Minna felt nervous but determined. She had never broken rules before meeting Saul. Now she was planning to break into the most secure part of the center. Ready? Todd asked as darkness fell. Minna nodded. For Saul, she would be brave. Together, the four unlikely allies headed into the night. The night was dark as Minna and her friends approached the back of the Galactic Conservation Center. Few lights were on. Most staff had gone home. Security badge ready, Todd whispered. He held his card against the first door. It opened with a soft beep. They slipped inside. The hallways were empty and dim. Minna's heart beat fast. She had never been in the center at night. It felt different, colder and more dangerous. Ty led them through service corridors. They stopped at a junction where the hallway split in 4 directions. This is where we separate, Ta said. Dai, go to the east wing. Dr. Hyun and I will head to the second checkpoint. Minna, wait here until you get our signal. Dae squeezed Minna's hand. Good luck, he whispered before hurrying down the eastern corridor. Minna waited alone. The minutes felt like hours. Then her communicator vibrated with a message from Dae. Distraction starting now. Far away, alarms began to sound. Minna heard running footsteps as security guards rushed toward the east wing. Her communicator vibrated again. This time, it was Ta. Second checkpoint clear. Cameras frozen for 2 minutes. Go now. Minna took a deep breath and ran down the north corridor. She counted in her head. 2 minutes wasn't long. The research lab door was ahead. Minna held up the key card Dr. Hyun had programmed. It worked. The door slid open. Inside, the lab was filled with strange machines. In the center was a clear glass case. Inside the case was Sol. The small bird looked weak. Tubes were connected to his tiny body. When he saw Minna, he tried to sing, but his song was faint. Sol, Minna cried. She looked for a way to open the case. A control panel sat beside it. Minna tried the key card, but a red light flashed. Access denied. 1 minute left. Minna looked around desperately. She saw tools on a nearby table. She grabbed a heavy metal object and smashed it against the control panel. Sparks flew. The glass case opened with a hiss. I'm here, Sol, Minna whispered. Gently, she removed the tubes from the bird's body and lifted him into her hands. Sol felt cold. 30 seconds left. Minna turned to leave and froze. Director Jin stood in the doorway. I knew someone would try to steal my specimen, he said coldly. I didn't expect it would be you, Nurse Minna. He's not a specimen, Minna said. Her voice shook, but she held Sol protectively. He's a living being. Director Jin stepped forward. That bird is worth more than you can imagine. The military will pay anything for its healing power. You don't care about healing, Minna said. You only want money and power. Give me the bird, Director Jin demanded, reaching for Sol. Sol, who had been quiet, suddenly stirred in Mina's hands. He opened his beak and sang. This song was different from his healing song. It was loud and sharp. Director Jin covered his ears in pain. "What is that?" he shouted. Mina was surprised too, but she didn't waste the chance. She ran past Director Jin while he was distracted. In the hallway, she met Ta and Dr. Hyun running toward her. "The cameras are back on," Ta warned. "We need to go another way." They turned down a side corridor. Behind them, they heard Director Jin shouting for guards. "This way." Dr. Hyun pointed to a maintenance lift. They crowded inside as the doors closed. Sol kept singing his strange song. Mina noticed something odd. Her fear was fading. She felt calmer, clearer. "His song," Dr. Hyun said in wonder. "It's affecting our emotions. Not just healing physical wounds," Tai added, "but healing fear too." The lift doors opened at the ground level. They could see the exit ahead. "Where's Da?" Mina asked worriedly. "Here." Da appeared from a side door, breathing hard. "Guards everywhere. We need to hurry." Together, they ran for the exit. Sol's song grew stronger with each step, giving them courage to keep going. Outside in the night air, Mina finally felt Sol warm up in her hands. His song had saved them all. But they weren't safe yet. Soon, the entire center would be looking for them. "We can't go back to our homes," Ta said as they ran through the dark streets. "That's the first place they'll look." "I know somewhere safe," Dr. Hyun said. "Follow me." They followed Dr. Hyun to an old building on the edge of the city. It looked empty, but when Dr. Hyun pressed his hand to the door, it opened. "My private research space," he explained. "No one knows about it." Inside was a small lab with basic equipment. Mina gently placed Sol on a soft cloth. The bird was breathing better now, but still looked weak. "What did they do to him?" Mina asked, her voice breaking. Dr. Hyun examined Sol carefully. They took tissue samples, blood, and recorded his songs. He pointed to tiny marks on Sol's body. They were testing the limits of his healing power. "Will he be okay?" Mina asked. "With rest and care, yes," Dr. Hyun said. "His kind is strong." While Mina tended to Sol, Ta worked on a computer terminal. "I'm checking what Director Jin was really doing," Ta said. "I copied his files before we left." Day looked over Ta's shoulder. "Can you open them?" "Yes, but it will take time," Tai replied. Hours passed. Sol slept in Mina's hands, occasionally making soft chirping sounds. Mina sang to him gently, remembering how he had responded to her voice when he was just an embryo. "I found something," Ta suddenly called out. They gathered around the screen. Ta had opened a hidden folder in Director Jin's files. "It's an archive," Tai explained. "Very old data about Earth and humans." Why would Director Jin hide this? Dr. Hyun wondered. Tai opened file after file. They showed pictures of Earth, humans, and animals. Then Ta found a video file. He played it. A human face appeared on the screen. The human had dark hair and light skin. She looked tired but determined. "This is Dr. Hannah Kim, lead scientist of Project Nightingale," the human said. "This may be our final record. Earth is dying. Most of us are leaving tomorrow on the ships." The four friends watched in silence. They had been taught that humans had gone extinct. But this human was talking about leaving Earth on ships. "Our last gift to the galaxy is Project Nightingale," the human continued. "We have modified these birds to carry healing in their songs. The sound frequencies rearrange cellular structures and can also balance brain chemistry to reduce fear and pain." Mina looked at Sol with new understanding. He wasn't just a random bird. He was special, created by humans for a purpose. "We are not extinct as most believe," the human in the video said. "We have merged with the Altarians. Our combined species will seek a new home beyond this galaxy. Perhaps someday, The nightingales will lead others to find us." The video ended. The room was quiet. Humans didn't die out, Daz said in awe. They evolved and left. And they left these birds as a gift, Minna added, stroking Saul's feathers. Director Jin knew this, Ta said grimly. He found these records but kept them secret. He wanted to use the nightingale's power for profit. Dr. Hyun looked thoughtful. There might be more nightingales in storage, more gifts from humans waiting to be found. As they talked, Saul woke up. He flew to the computer screen and touched it with his beak, as if he recognized something in the human's face. Then he began to sing a new song, not his healing song or his calming song, but something more complex and beautiful. "It's like he's trying to tell us something," Minna said. Saul flew back to Minna's shoulder. His tiny eyes seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Saul isn't just a bird, Minna realized. He's a message from humanity, a reminder that healing is possible, even after great loss. They had rescued Saul, but now they understood that their mission was much bigger. They had discovered the truth about humans, and a gift meant for the entire galaxy. Morning came. Minna and her friends had not slept. They had been talking all night about what to do next. "We could run away," Daz suggested. "Find a ship and leave this planet." "And go where?" Tai asked. Director Jin has connections everywhere. Minna looked at Saul, who was eating seeds from her hand. The small bird seemed stronger now. His feathers shone in the morning light. "We can't run," Minna said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Saul's gift isn't just for us. It's for everyone." "What are you saying?" Dr. Hyun asked. "I'm saying we need to tell the truth," Minna replied. Her voice was still soft, but there was new strength in it. "To everyone." "The Galactic Council." Ta looked shocked. "They'll never listen to us." "They will if we show them," Minna said, looking at Saul. It was a bold plan. The Galactic Council met once a month in the Great Hall. Representatives from all planets attended. Their next meeting was today. "We'll need to get past security," Ta said. Dr. Hyun smiled. "I'm a senior doctor. I can request an emergency hearing. They must listen to medical emergencies." They spent the morning preparing. Minna recorded all the data about Saul. Todd copied Director Jin's secret files. Dai made a special carrier for Saul that would keep him calm and safe. "Are you sure about this?" Dai asked Minna. "You've always been so shy, speaking before the council." Minna nodded. "Saul gave me courage," she said. "And this is bigger than my fear." They arrived at the council hall just as the meeting was starting. Dr. Hyun used his medical code to request an emergency hearing. Guards led them to the waiting area. Inside the Great Hall, 200 representatives sat in a circle. Director Jin was there, speaking urgently to security officers. When he saw Minna and the others enter, his face turned dark with anger. "Those are the thieves," he shouted. "They stole valuable center property." Guards moved toward Minna's group. Saul, sensing danger, began to sing his calming song from inside his carrier. The room grew quiet. The sharp anger on faces softened. Even Director Jin looked confused by his sudden loss of rage. "What is that sound?" asked the council leader, an old alien with silver skin. Minna stepped forward. Her heart was racing, but Saul's song gave her strength. "My name is Minna," she said, her voice clear in the large room. "I am a nurse at the Galactic Conservation Center. This is Saul, a nightingale from Earth." She opened the carrier. Saul flew out and landed on her shoulder. "We were taught that humans went extinct," Minna continued. But that was not true. She nodded to Ta, who played the human's video message on the big screen. The council watched in silence. When the video ended, the room buzzed with shocked voices. "Humans left us a gift," Minna said. "Saul can heal with his song. Not just bodies, but minds and hearts too." To prove it, Minna asked for a volunteer with an injury. A young representative with a bandaged hand came forward. Saul sang, and everyone watched as the wound healed. Director Jin wanted to keep this power secret, Minna said, to sell it to the military. But the humans meant it as a gift for everyone. The council leader looked at Director Jin. Is this true? Director Jin had no answer. The evidence was clear. What do you propose? The council leader asked Minna. I propose a new program, Minna said, no longer shy or afraid. To find more nightingales in storage, to study their healing songs and share them with everyone who needs healing. One by one, the council members stood up. They agreed with Minna's plan. 3 months later, Minna stood in the new Healing Song Center. 5 more nightingales had been found and revived. Patients came from all over the galaxy. Saul sat on Minna's shoulder as she welcomed new medical students. Today we learned about human healing harmonics, she said confidently. Saul sang softly in her ear. From shy nurse to program leader, Minna had changed. But the most important change was in the galaxy itself. Healing was no longer just about medicine. It was about song. It was about hope. It was about a gift from humans who wanted their legacy to be healing, not destruction. And it had all started with one shy alien nurse who had been brave enough to revive a small brown bird.